everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is November 7th, 2025. And Barcelona are officially back in our home stadium at the Camp Nou. Also, today we're going to talk about Daniel Munoz because Barcelona are preparing a bid. And finally, the CEO of Levante giving us an update in regards to Etta Eyong. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. My name is Mo. This is the Barca News live podcast, which is on every Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but where I also get to interact with you lovely people in the chat section by reading your comments, answering your questions, and getting the discussion going. Today we're starting a little bit late because I did have to work late, but that's okay because it's Friday. This is the weekend, and well, the weekend is always appreciated. Now, for those of you who will be watching when the podcast ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline. In case you do want to skip through the discussion, get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you're looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to hit the Goal Kids, Keep Back or Fanatics. If you're looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description and click on them. Get access to some pretty cool deals and offers courtesy of Barca News. And of course, these offers you would not get access to if you would just go straight to the websites without using the link. All right, let's begin with the news. And as always, the first bit of news or the first segment of news is multiple bits of news. It started with the great news that today Barcelona returned to their home stadium, to the Camp Nou, after 900 days being away. Let's go! Sorry, I'm just very excited, of course. We haven't been at the Camp Nou since, May of 2023. It's been 2.5 years, 900 days that the team has been away from the Camp Nou. And today the team returned for, of course, not officially. It was a training session because, as you know, even though the Camp Nou has received the license to operate and to host people, it only has the 1A license, which can only host 27,000 people. And of course, Barcelona decided to stay at the Olympic Stadium because it has double the capacity at 50,000, and now they're awaiting the 1B license. And once we have the 1B license, we'll be able to host 45,000 people, and that's when Barcelona will officially return to the Camp Nou to play matches. It's expected to be either against Athletic Club de Bilbao on November 22nd, which is the first match after this upcoming FIFA international break, or the following match on November 29th, which will be my birthday, and that will be a great gift to me. And of course, it is also Barcelona's birthday because we both share a birthday. But great news as the team returned to the Camp Nou today. 22,000 people in attendance. Of course, Barcelona sold tickets to this open training session. €5 for members or socios, €10 for the general public. And all the proceeds of these ticket sales will go to charity. For people like, Barcelona, they're charging for open training. What are they doing? It's all for charity. Barcelona are not going to keep a single euro from this ticket sales. Now, after the match, of course, the players were seen signing autographs, interacting with the public. Look at that, by the way. Look at all those people. It's beautiful, man. It's so good to be at the Spotify Camp Nou. I watched the videos that Barcelona posted today. Beautiful videos. It gives you goosebumps to see the team back at the Camp Nou. I can't show it to you, of course, for copyright purposes, but if you go to Barcelona's Twitter account or Instagram account, you can watch the videos on there. But it was such a beautiful sight to see the team at the Camp Nou. And as I was saying, the team did stay after the training session to sign autograph, take pictures with the crowd. It was a really cool, emotional event. A lot of the players gave interviews afterwards talking about how emotional it was to be at the Camp Nou, and for some of them to step foot in the Camp Nou for the first time. There's a lot of players who haven't played there. Has Rafinha played at the Camp Nou? Rafinha has played at the Camp Nou. But there's a lot of players who haven't played at the Camp Nou, especially the younger ones. So very emotional day for everybody, for the fans, for the players. And then Joan Laporta, of course, had some statements after the training session where he said the following: "I am very happy because the process has taken almost 15 years since 2010 when I finished my first presidential term. We needed to get the plans off the drawing board and into reality to make this dream come true. For years, nothing happened in terms of physical construction, which is why we believed it was essential for Barca's economic, financial, and sporting viability to have the new Spotify Camp Nou." And then Laporta talked about the difficulties that it took to get this project off the ground, said, "We faced it at a difficult time, but the FC Barcelona crest opens many doors, and that is why we attracted the financial world, Goldman Sachs, who believed in this project and financed it. We have resized everything in 2.5 years. From a creative perspective, I am very happy with what we have achieved. Very proud and very grateful to all the people who are making this a reality. They asked me at every badge ceremony, finish the stadium, and I want to see it for these culés. If Barca has forged itself as the best club in the world, it is thanks to them." So, of course, Joan Laporta very happy that this project is finally almost there, right? It's not fully complete, but in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, we should be back there with a 45,000 people capacity. They're saying by the end of the year, the stadium should have a 60,000 people capacity, which is the first 2 rings. And then the third ring, of course, is not going to be completed until the end of 2026, they're saying. That's when it's going to be able to host 105,000 people. And then the roof is not going to be completed until the end of 2027. So it's still a long way to go, but nonetheless, a huge, huge step taken today as the crowds and the team were back at the Camp Nou, and pretty soon we'll be back there during matches. And of course, also Laporta highlighting something that I've said a lot before on this channel. I haven't said it in a while, but I think Laporta is really great at this. He understands this, something that Bartomeu failed at it miserably, which is Laporta understands what the Barcelona brand is. He knows how to capitalize on that brand because remember, Bartomeu, he would want to sign a player and everybody's offering, 50, 60. Bartomeu was like, I'll offer 90 to convince him to come here. It's like, bro, you didn't need to do that. This is Barcelona. People want to come here. Players want to play here since they're little kids. Sponsors want to work with us. They want to pay us money so we can have their names printed on our stuff. Like, Bartomeu never understood that, but Laporta understands this very well. And while he was able to leverage the Barcelona brand and be able to get the financing from Goldman Sachs during a very tough financial time. Like, it's for any financial institution to try to finance an organization that's failing financially, that's in huge debt, it's almost like suicide. Nobody would want to touch that. But this is FC Barcelona, and, the banks understand, they're going through a tough financial time. But at the end of the day, the Barcelona brand is a money-making machine. And Laporta was able to leverage that and get the finances approved in 2021 when we were going through the thick of it. So great job, Joan Laporta, on getting the financing and getting this project off the ground. Now, speaking of the training itself, not the stadium, but the training itself, the good news is that today Christensen was back in a group training. And that, of course, is good news. As you know, the last training session that Barcelona had, which was right before the Champions League match, he left the training early. He only trained for 15 minutes. And then it was revealed that that was pre-arranged, that Flick had arranged it that way because he didn't want to take any risks with Christensen. Well, now Christensen was back with the group training. It's expected that he will be fit for this weekend's match against Celta Vigo on Sunday. Also, really great news, much better news. Not to take away from Christensen. We love you, bro. I'm happy you're back. But even better news, because Joan Garcia was seen not only training with the group, but training with total normalcy. Now, Joan Garcia had been training on the pitch for quite some time, but today he was doing his training with the rest of the goalkeepers, something that he hadn't done up until today. So that, of course, is great news. Why? Because it signals that he is ready, that he's almost back. As you know, when you get a surgery, first step, heal. Second step, physical therapy. Third step, training the gym only. Fourth step, training the pitch. Fifth and last step is train with the group, and that's what Joan Garcia did today. So he technically could be fit for this weekend's match, but they're saying that Barcelona will rather keep him for after the international break, which makes sense, right? Why bring him back for one match and then the team is leaving for 2 weeks for the FIFA international break? Might as well just skip this upcoming match, have him continue recovering for the next 2 weeks during the FIFA international break, and then bring him back against Athletic Club de Bilbao. Because I got to say, I really, really miss Joan Garcia, and I can't wait for him to come back. Now, more news about the training because Eddie Garcia was seen training with his mask. As you know, Eddie Garcia broke his nose in the Champions League match against Club Brugge. And today he was seen training with the mask. It looks like he was very bothered by it because towards the end of the training session, he took it off and trained without it. We'll see if he plays during this week's match. I mean, technically he could play, right? Your nose doesn't get in the way of you playing football. You don't play with your nose. But usually when it's a fresh fracture, it's usually the players get rested because after all, it's still a fresh fracture and you can easily refracture it, because of football, you do hit your face. It is a contact sport after all. You can be, especially in corner kicks or something where you're like shoulder to shoulder and then someone might like brush your nose with their elbow, with their shoulder. So we'll see if he gets minutes. But today he was seen training with the mask. And also the last thing about this training session is that Lamine Yamal was seen once again warming up on his own. And that is, of course, because he does have that pubalgia injury. That's not something you can heal from. It's just something that you deal with for the rest of your life. So you have to manage it. You don't heal from it. You manage it. And, well, Lamine Yamal has been doing warm-up sessions, special warm-up sessions for him that have been designed by the physiotherapist for him. So he's been doing his own warm-up sessions alone, his own special exercises for him. Today he was seen doing that once again as, of course, as the medical staff look how to help Lamine Yamal deal with this injury / condition, I guess, if you want to call that. But anyways, that's all for the first segment. Great news. We're back at home, ladies and gentlemen. We are back at the Spotify Camp Nou. All right, let's do some comments, and then we are going to talk about a special topic, something that we haven't done before. But anyways, Everything Smart says, hey, Mo, Barca is giving me a heartburn playing this way. I know what you mean, my friend. I know what you mean, but deep breath. Relax. And hopefully we'll get through this. Cornell, what's up, my man? Says, bang, I made it to the live. What's up, homie? Hope all is well. And New York City is starting to get cold, my friend. But that's okay because I like the cold. It's full fall weather right now. Outside, all the trees are orange and yellow and red. It's absolutely beautiful. I love the fall in New York City. The only thing is yesterday was very windy. I hate when it's really windy because it cuts right through your clothes and it makes it cold. But besides that, I love the fall. I love the gloominess. I love the cold. I love the, that cold brisk in the air. I like the trees changing color. I really like it. I really like it. But thank you, my friend. I've missed you. I hope to see you in this Peña trip, which I'm going to be going, which that reminds me, I gotta wire Victor some money for this. Anyways, John D says, New York City FC just scored. All right. They are, by the way, opening a new stadium pretty soon. I think 2026, they're going to have the new stadium. For those of you who don't know, New York City has two football teams. New York City FC, which is owned by the same company that owns Manchester City. They wear the same colors, that light, ugly blue. And then there's, of course, the New York Red Bulls. The New York Red Bulls have their stadium in Newark, New Jersey. Yes, it's a New York City team, but their stadium is in New Jersey, just like the New York Jets and the New York Giants. They all play in Jersey. And then there's the New York City FC. Their stadium is being built in Queens, but right now they play at the Yankee Stadium. Yes, I know. That's just how retarded this whole thing is, how the MLS is. They play in a baseball stadium for now, but they are going to have their own stadium. So I'm excited for that because it's going to be a very beautiful stadium. I hope to catch some matches there. Triple X says, are we really going to get Munoz? If that's true. Oh, wait, I just realized I never switched to this screen. Duh. If that's true, then now we're talking. He's an incredible right back, a beast right back. He'd be a massive addition for us. I'll talk about it in a little bit, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. And Carlos says, Mo, if the Highline doesn't work, does that mean we should ask less from the players? That's how I feel. In that case, my work should ask less from me. I can't do my job. Yeah, no, we should not ask less from the players. We should ask more from the players. After all, they do earn a crap load of money. So get to work, you lazy bums. Anyways, speaking of the Highline, let's move on to the next bit of not really news. This is more of something different we're doing today. We're doing something different. And the reason is because yesterday I made a video talking about Thierry Henry's statements. Now, Thierry Henry criticized Hansi Flick after the draw between Barcelona and Club Brugge, 3-3. And he said that you can't win the Champions League with playing with a system like that. It takes a lot of high risk, right? And I discussed those statements in yesterday's video, and I said Thierry Henry is wrong. Not because I disagree with his opinion, but because he is factually wrong. Why? Because there have been plenty of teams and plenty of coaches who have actually won the Champions League with this kind of system. Highly offensive, pragmatic, that takes a lot of risks, right? Because when you attack with your entire team, you are taking a lot of risk. Why? Because you're not leaving anyone in the back. And when you don't leave anyone in the back, what happens? You're exposing yourself to be scored on, to concede goals. So according to Thierry Henry, you can't win the Champions League like that by taking that much risk. And I said he is, well, wrong. Again, this is not about opinion. This is about fact. You know, I think the line has been blurred in these recent years with the whole everybody's entitled to their opinion. And yes, everybody is entitled to their opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And there's a difference. Coke is better than Pepsi or Pepsi is better than Coke. That's an opinion. We can argue about it all you want. Oh, I like the taste. No, the aftertaste. No, the sugar level, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, I'm entitled to like Coke more than Pepsi, and you're entitled to like Pepsi more than Coke. There is no right answer, right? Just an opinion. The earth is not flat. The earth is a globe. That's a fact. You can think it's flat. You can argue that it's flat. But at the end of the day, you're wrong. Period. No way about it. And just because you believe it's flat, well, the earth is not going to turn flat just because you believe in it, right? Facts don't care about your opinions. So it seems that there's been a huge blur in the lines there where with this whole everybody's entitled to an opinion, now people think they're also entitled to their own facts, which you're not, okay? If you're wrong, period. That's how it is. And Thierry Henry here is wrong. Because again, there's been plenty of teams that have won the Champions League playing like this and taking high risk, right? Again, it's not an opinion. That's a fact. And that fact includes Hansi Flick himself, who won the Champions League with this same exact system with Bayern Munich. The same system that, according to Thierry Henry, does not work and cannot win the Champions League. But it already did. So what the fuck are we talking about here? But anyways, I said that in yesterday's video, and of course, here come the slew of comments. Mo, what are you talking about? You're making things up. No other coach has played like this. Pep didn't play like this. Luis Enrique didn't play like this. You're just making things up because you just want to prove a point. And I was like, all right, well, let's see if I truly am making things up. Now, keep in mind that it took me literally 5 minutes to find just a few videos and prove my point. I didn't even spend this much time because, well, that's how easy it is to prove this point. Now, of course, you're entitled to go look at your own videos, your own highlights, but let's look at some. And I picked highlights from the Pep era, the Luis Enrique era, all these eras to see, am I truly making things up? Did these coaches not play with a highlight and this is all just Hansi Flick's invention and I'm just making shit up? Let's look at it. Now, these are compilation of goals, so they're obviously very long videos, so I'm not going to be showing you the whole video. Otherwise, this podcast will turn into 2 days. Also, for copyrights purposes, I'm only going to be pausing really quickly. I'm not going to be showing like continuous segments. But first, let's look at the 2010-2011 Pep Guardiola's Barca, one of the best Barcas in the history of, well, not just the club, but of the sport. All right, let's see at this goal. This is Barcelona versus Real Madrid. All right, let's rewind a little bit. Let's see.
Solution for...
Oh, wait, let me mute this. All right, so look at this build-up. Where is Gerard Piqué? He is right here in Real Madrid's half. This is where our line is, our defensive line. But no, Mo, Pep never played with a high line. What are you talking about? Puyol and Piqué were always standing right next to Valdés, right? I'm just making shit up. All right, let's forward a little bit more. Let's look at this goal. Oh, let's rewind a little bit. Wait. Right there. Actually, a little bit before. Oh, look at where Piqué is standing. Right in the middle of the field. No, Mo. Pep never played with a high line. Piqué and Puyol were actually inside the goal, behind Valdez, because they never went up. Right? All right. Let's skip a little bit more. Let's go here. Another build up. Oh, look where Piqué is. No, Mo. Shut up. Pep Guardiola never played with a high line. In fact, Piqué and Puyol would stay in the stands south of the goal. They never went up that much. All right. Let's forward a little bit more. How about here? Oh, look at where our defensive line is. No, Mo. Pep never played with a high line. In fact, Piqué and Puyol would stay in the parking lot. That's how far away they were always from the opposing team's half. And I could keep going and going and going. But okay, forget Pep, right? Because I'll just make shit up. Let's look at the MSN era. Let's look at Luis Enrique, another team that also won the Champions League. And let's see if they truly did play with a high line. Okay. Here's a build-up. Messi versus Granada goal. Look at where our defensive line is. No, Mo. Luis Enrique never played with the high line. The high line didn't even exist back then. Hansi Flick invented it on Wednesday against Club Brugge. This is why we drew, right? All right. Let's forward a little bit more. Hold on. Let me mute this crap. Another build-up. Oh, look at where our defenders are. Right in the middle of the field. No, Mo. The high line is actually a German word, and unless you're German, you don't know what the high line is. Only Hansi Flick has ever played the high line, right? All right, let's forward a little bit more. How about this one? Where is our defense? Let's rewind a little bit more. Oh, look where our last guy is. He's in the opposing team's half. But no, Mo, you're just making shit up. Nobody played with the high line, right? All right. Well, this is Pep. Oh, wait, I just realized something. I never switched screens. So you probably didn't see anything what I was talking about. So here, we're going to reshare the Luis Enrique era. Okay? We're going to rewind and show you some of the examples of Luis Enrique using the highline. Let's look at this build-up. This ends up in a goal. Again, I'm not going to play it because I don't want to, for copyrights. But look where our defensive line is. Right in the middle of the field. But no, Luis Enrique did not use the highline. I'm just making shit up. All right. Let's see a different goal. How about here? Look what our defense is. Right in the middle of the field. Okay. Let's go up a little bit more. Let's forward a little bit more. Here's the goal. Oh. Did you see where our defense is standing? Wait. This thing moved on me. Why does it keep doing that? It does not want to rewind. All right, there we go. Look where our defense is. In the half of the opposing team. But no, Mo. Nobody has ever played the highline. Only Flick is crazy enough to play with the highline. But okay. I get it. This is Pep Guardiola. You know, someone said, well, teams change, right? Teams don't stay static. All right, fine. Pep Guardiola 2011. That was what? 14 years ago. Luis Enrique 2016. That's what? 9 years ago. Fine. Let's rewind a few months back. 5 months back. Let's look at PSG under Luis Enrique. You know, the team that also won the Champions League. Let's look at them. Right here. This is a goal. Look where the last man is. In the opposing team's third. But no, Bo. Only Flick plays with the high line. He's the only one crazy enough. It's impossible to win the Champions League with the high line. All right, fine. Let's look at another goal. By the way, this is all Champions League goals. Another goal. Look where the defensive line is. Right in the middle of the field. But no, nobody plays the high line. Everybody's sane. Only Flick is crazy enough to play with the high line, right? Let me see. Let me fast forward a little bit more. Where did we go? Right here. Look at that. Look at where Marquinhos is. In the opposing team's third. So are we done with this nonsense or should I keep going? By the way, someone went as far as telling me that Flick with Bayern did not use a high line. Okay? This is at the point that we're at, where we just talk it out of our asses just to prove a point. But okay, fine. I didn't think I had to do this. But let's look at Hansi Flick's Bayern. Here's a goal. Look at what Paul Will is standing. If you don't know who Paul Will is, he was a center back. All right. Let's forward here. Eintracht Frankfurt versus Bayern. Look at where Pavard is. He's also a center back. All right. Let's keep going a little bit more. Look where the center backs are. In the opposing team's half. But no. Nobody has ever played the high line. No one has ever won the Champions League with the high line. Mo, you're just making shit up. The high line didn't even exist back then. The high line was invented on Wednesday. And that's why Barcelona drew against Club Brugge. Right? So are we done with this nonsense? Or are we just going to make shit up just to make a point? Because again, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And Henry, same thing. He might want to say all he wants, that you can't win the Champions League with this system. He's dead wrong. Because plenty of coaches with different teams have won the Champions League using that system. And that's a fact, not a matter of opinion. Now, if you don't want to believe that fact, that's your prerogative. But guess what? Facts don't care about your opinion. It's not going to change the fact that, yes, the system can win the Champions League and has done so multiple times. Now, what people are doing or being right now, it's called being an opportunist, right? Because when the team was executing the system and Barcelona were thrashing and winning and being successful, everybody was like, oh, Barcelona, they're the best. Flick is the best. And now that the system is not working because the players are not executing it, all of a sudden it's trash, it doesn't work, get it out of here, right? That's being an opportunist. The system is not the problem. It's how you execute it. And that goes for any system in any sport around the world. It doesn't matter if it's the high line. It doesn't matter if you're parking the bus. If you don't execute the system doesn't work, period. But to say that the system does not work at all, doesn't matter how you execute it because it's too risky and you can't win the Champions League when the system has won the Champions League plenty of times, then you're talking out of your ass. And it was very disappointing to see Thierry Henry, a legend of football, one of my favorite players, to be saying this kind of thing because he is wrong. Simple as that. Anyways, let's get back to the comment section. And hopefully, I won't have to now deal with more nonsense about this. But let's see what everyone's saying. Sila says, hi Mo, hope you're doing well. I told you a week ago we would struggle to Club Bruges. What you thinking about the 4-3? Fault or not? For me, as a Bruges and a Barca fan, it was a fault on our Barca goalie. Foul. Oh, you talk about the penalty kick. It was not, because he does take down Wojciech Szczesny, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, but what Wojciech Szczesny did was absolutely idiotic. He gets the ball pass, he controls it horribly, that he puts himself in that situation. But once in that situation, yes, the Club Brugge attacker slides, and then he pretty much takes Wojciech Szczesny's leg from under him and he falls. So no, that was not a penalty, if that's what you're talking about. Or are you talking about... Yeah, right? That's the 4-3? I think so, right? If I'm like talking about different things, let me know. Make sure to read your comment. Spooky says, what do you think about Ronaldo saying it was easier for him to score in La Liga than in Saudi Arabia? It's Penaldo, man. He's full of shit. What he's trying to do is trying to make it seem like, oh, Saudi is such a top league, because that's what he's been doing this whole time, right? He's always keeps saying that Saudi is like one of the best leagues in the world. Why? So he can get more credit for the bullshit goals that he's scoring, right? Because ever since he went to Saudi, nobody really cares except for his fanboys about what he's doing and what goals he's scoring. But of course, he wants to stay relevant, and he wants to convince the world that Saudi is a top league, so everybody can be like, wow, look at Ronaldo. He's scoring all these goals in this top league against some of the best teams in the world. And it's like, no one's buying that crap, bro. Saudi is a shit league. The teams are shit. The players are shit. Okay, sure, there are some players who are, good players, but most of them are retired. So it's not a top league, and your goals are not impressive. Just fade away, bro. Just retire or get playing in Saudi. Stop trying to compete with Messi. He beat you a long time ago. Let it go. Let it go. You're still one of the greatest players in history. No need to keep competing and beating a dead horse when you already lost years ago. But anyways. Hamid says, hi Mo, it's 3:15 a.m. in South Africa. I can't sleep, so I tuned in after I saw the channel's notification. We are back where we belong. Hopefully the performance will improve as we return to our home. Amen, my friend. And thank you so much for joining, even though it is pretty late. But thank you, my friend. Zach says, hey Mo, is Lamin's condition a threat to his career long term? Hopefully not. I think it's a condition that can be managed. As long as he has, the proper trainers to help him with it, proper nutrition, exercises, workouts, etc. So no, if you manage it, it should be fine. But of course, you have to manage it, and that takes a lot of discipline because it is a very sensitive area. Let's see. Gogi Vanka says, Mo, what about the new season kits? The black/purple code Kobe kit, even the blue one looks nice. You talk about next season, right? Like the 2025, 2026 season. No, this is 2025. You talk about 2026, 2027 season, right? I saw it. It's beautiful. But of course, it's too early to tell if that's going to be the final version, because remember, kits go through different iterations. They might leak a concept, but then that concept might undergo some changes. And, it goes through so many changes throughout the season. So we don't know if that's going to be the final version. But Zach Urban says, why is Barca the only club criticized for its system while, in fact, many other teams use it too? For two reasons. Because A, Barca fans are fickle as fuck, right? One day they're happy. The next day it's like, it's all shit, fire the players. And two, because it's Barca, right? When you achieve greatness, you're always going to be criticized for every little thing you do. So, yeah. Al-Haj Bieber says, good morning, bro. My name is Al-Haji Bieber, Sese from Sierra Leone. Any updates for the 1-to-1 rule? No updates. We're not under the 1-to-1 rule, and that's it. And Danny says, Mo is confusing offensive play with highlight. I literally just showed you a bunch of highlights. From Pep to Luis Enrique's Barca to Luis Enrique's PSG to Flick's Bayern. All four teams that won the Champions League. Literally just fucking showed you that. Zach Urban says Flick wanted Barca because it's a system very familiar to him, not the other way around. Barca tactics have always been offensive and risky. Absolutely. But Apparently, I'm just making shit up, guys. I'm just making shit up, even though I literally just showed video footage. Funk Frank says, Mo, while I don't agree with the whole theory of the highline bring, the reason why we lose flick highline is actually usually literally on the halfway line. Again, I just showed you a bunch of thieves with the same line that have won. The system is not the problem. It's how you execute it. And right now, the team is not executing it well. Why? Because they're not pressing. And if you don't press, you cannot make the system work. Anyways, Riverside says, for a lawyer, your reasoning and evaluation skills are very narrow. The problem is not the high. The problem is that we don't have players who understand the high line. That's very ironic that you say my reasoning is narrow, whatever the fuck that means, because you're saying that we don't have the players for the system, but yet the system fucking worked last season, so apparently we do have the players for it. Guys, has the education system failed us this bad? Seriously? Are you fucking kidding me? You literally just watched the season of Barcelona thrashing everybody and winning 3 trophies, and then you turn around and like, hey, we didn't have the players for it. Are you fucking kidding me? It's the same fucking players. And the system worked. What the fuck are we talking about? My fucking God. And I'm the one with the reasoning problem? Are you fucking kidding me? Jesus Christ. God. Oh my God. I've had better luck teaching tricks to my dog than getting across a simple fucking point. Jesus. Nathan Fort says, hi Mo, if Etta Eyong doesn't come to Barcelona, then Barca should go for Paulo Dybala. His contract expired. No, we're way past that. We're way past that Paulo Dybala era. No, that's not a Barca player. I'm sorry, but it's not. Thank you for your donation, my friend. And with that, let's get back to the news, because we do have to talk about Etta Eyong, but not yet. That's coming next. Before we talk about Etta Eyong, we do have to talk about Daniel Munoz. If you don't know who Daniel Munoz is, he is a 29-year-old right back. Can also play as a center back in both positions, right and left. He is someone... Oh my God, my phone is ringing. Hold on. He is someone that Barcelona had actually been tracking for quite some time. There were talks about signing him last summer, but of course, with our financial situation, our financial fair play, it just wasn't possible. But nonetheless, as I reported to you I think it was last week, maybe the week before, Barcelona are still interested in Daniel Munoz. And in fact, sources in England are now stating that Barcelona have been pressuring Crystal Palace to set a price. In other words, Barcelona want to know what the price of Daniel Munoz is, because they will try to sign him this summer, of course, depending on what the price is. Now, Daniel Munoz does have a market value of around 25 million euros, and his contract expires in 2028. We'll see what that would mean as far as numbers, whether Crystal Palace will want market value, whether they want a little bit more. We'll see. But Barcelona are reportedly have been pressuring Crystal Palace to set a price because they're very interested in making a move for the Colombian fullback. And honestly, given how Koundé has been performing, I more than welcome this move, because we need someone to compete with Jules Koundé, who's been absolutely awful. So that's the news. Barcelona preparing a bid for Daniel Munoz. But of course, in order to do that, they need to know how much the money is, how much he costs, so they can, prepare a proper bid. All right, let's get back to the comment section, and then we are going to talk about Etta Eyong. And welcome, the Dave Show says, so which part of Henry's statement is false? How do you press when you get defense line at the center of the field? Watch yesterday's video, and it's all there. I'm not going to repeat myself. Carla says, Mo, these videos are altered, are not true. Even when you show proof, it's not enough. It's AI. It's AI. I made it all up. I went to what's the one that makes videos? I think there's InVideo. I went to InVideo and I was like, hey, create a bunch of videos showing these other teams doing a highline so I can get this simple, incredibly simple point across. But I'm the one with the narrow reasoning, whatever the fuck that means. King City says, it's not that we don't have the players mode. The squad is not big enough for the system. We need to rotate often when you play like this, and we just don't have the squad. I talked about this before. This whole fallacy that somehow Hansi Flick's system is so intense that requires, there's lots of rotations and players are tired and injured and blah, blah, blah. Look, all systems require intensity, not just Hansi Flick's. In fact, if you look at the numbers, teams who park the bus, they actually run a lot more than teams that don't, right? Because it takes a lot more running to chase a wall than it is to make a pass, right? If I am the defender of a team that parks the bus and I sprint at you, I cover 10 yards just to get at you. And then all you have to do is pass the ball to your teammate. And now I have to run another 10 yards to go try to cover your teammate. I just ran 20 yards and you didn't do anything. You just stood there and all you did is pass the ball. So in fact, it's teams that park the bus that run even more. So this whole fallacy that somehow Flick's system is the only system that requires intensity, that's false. All systems require intensity. We're talking about elite football, right? And elite football requires intensity. Regardless of what team you play for, regardless of what system you're playing, elite football requires intensity. Then it says, Mo keeps saying the system worked, but we all know how we lost the Champions League. Okay, fine. Luis Enrique, bro. Literally the same fucking system. He won the Champions League. Am I speaking a different language here? Am I speaking Chinese? Luis Enrique, bro, won the fucking Champions League 5 months ago. And I just showed you where his highline was the entire time. Seriously, am I speaking another language? Barca Basto says, Bo will one time in his life mention Fear Factor. What are we talking about? Zach Urban says, the highlight made me divorce my wife and turn into an alcoholic and playing Flick. Oh, man. I hope you kept your money. If not, yeah, Flick owes you some. Trey Morris says, Flick highlight is impossible with the square he has. Barcelona team have slowed down a lot. I mean, it worked last season, and it was literally the same squad, for the exception of maybe, who did we get? Rashford and Rooney. I mean, it's the same squad, right? Let me see. Mike says, he doesn't say anything. Mike is celebrating 2 months of membership. It says quality depth very much needed. Just look at Kunde. Yeah. Unfortunately, Kunde is so disappointing this season. I can't believe that's the same Kunde that from last season. I mean, completely different player. And he needs to be benched. And I don't know if we have to move Eddie Garcia there and then just have Cubarsí and Araujo and maybe Cubarsí or Christensen, and maybe all three of them alternating in the center back positions. But Kunde needs to be benched until he decides to show up and to actually run and try. But anyways, let's do the last bit of news and then we'll do more comments. But let's do the last bit of news because we do have to talk about Etta Eyong, that 22-year-old center forward currently at Levante, who Barcelona are considering as a replacement for Robert Lewandowski, who is set to leave at the end of the season as his contract will expire. Now, Etta Eyong is someone that Barcelona tried to sign this past summer. His former club, Villarreal, were asking for $10 million, but unfortunately, given Barcelona's financial fair play, where they couldn't even register Joan Garcia, they weren't able to make the signing. So he ended up going to Levante. Now his release clause is $30 million. So now he's going to cost us even more, 3 times more. But Barcelona believe that perhaps they can negotiate that down, and maybe for 2025, they could sign Etta Eyong. Now, the CEO of Levante has given an update about Etta Eyong because you might recall this from a previous video, but I told you how about Etta Eyong had communicated to his circle that he wanted to know where he was going to play come this winter. In other words, in the winter, he wants to know where his next club will be in the summer. This has caused some confusion with a lot of fans thinking that Etta Eyong is looking to leave in the winter. He's not looking to leave in the winter. In the winter, he wants to know where he's going to leave to in the summer, if that makes sense. So the CEO of Levante had to come out and clarify those rumors by saying the following. He's not going to leave this winter. I'm constantly hearing rumors, and we're also receiving offers every day, but we're not going to sell Etta Eyong in this winter transfer window. The team's priority is to stay up. It makes no sense to make an effort in the summer and then sell him in the winter. The club's greatest asset is to stay in the first division, even if a very large sum of money comes in. When the season ends, we will analyze the situation. If we remain in the first division, there will be a reevaluation of the squad. Now, when asked about Barcelona, the CEO of Levante said, Barca has not called Levante to inquire about Etta Eyong. As for the Premier League, we have not received a single call either. We did receive a firm offer for the player, but it was rejected. So the CEO of Levante, Jose Danvila, saying that he's not being sold in the winter, which of course we already knew that. He's just trying to clear the confusion that the player wanted to know where he wanted to go in the winter transfer market. Barcelona are looking at Etta Eyong not for the winter, but for the summer transfer market, which is when Lewandowski is set to leave. And of course, that's why they haven't reached out yet, because all communication has been directly with the, not directly, through third parties or through intermediaries with the player, not with Levante, to see where he's at, because of course you're not actually allowed to reach out to the player directly. So instead has been through intermediaries. And as I reported before, Etta Eyong, despite having interest from a lot of clubs, including Real Madrid, he prefers to go to Barcelona. So we'll see if this is the signing that Barcelona end up making. But just know that Etta Eyong not leaving in the winter, which we knew that. Thank you, CEO of Levante. And of course, he does prefer Barcelona, and we'll see whether Barcelona can make this signing happen. All right, that is all the news for this podcast. Let's do some comments. Scoopy Block says we need to put Rashford on the bench. He has no spark without the ball. Yeah, that's why I cannot wait for Coutinho to come back, because you are very right. Maybe Rashford is also like Ferran, more of a sub player. Maybe someone who can come off the bench, score a goal. But starting him has not been too great. Let's put it that way. Goji says Sardine wants to be starting number 9. And Len was saying, I will wait. What club decides? Are we kidding me? Another season? Who's those two? Who's Sardine? Oh, Ferran Torres. Sulaiman says, hello, Mo. Please stop stressing yourself. I did mention you a while ago, and people's level of reasoning is so shallow these days. They can't make a point without insulting others. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why people's all the time, oh, for being a lawyer. It's like, what do you have against me being a lawyer? What? You have some like complex, some self-conscious things. You're mad at me because I'm a lawyer. It's not my problem, bro. I chose my career. I don't know what you chose. That's up to you. Nor do I care. It has nothing to do with that point, with the point I'm making. But teach their own. Scoopy Black says, Bo, seriously, they are kids. Calm down. The season we win everything. Second half of the season we activate. I hope so, my friend. I really do. I really do, because it's been very stressful watching Barca play like this. Melioda says, Mo, if I'm being honest, a possible reason behind the defense being so bad might the players in the backline becoming lazy. If you think about this, started since last season, problem if we scored a lot. It's not just the defensive line. It's the whole team. It starts with the front three and moves to the midfield. And then, of course, that leaves your backline exposed. If your attackers don't immediately press the backline of the opposing team, that allows the opposing team's backline to get the pass out to their midfield. And if your midfield doesn't immediately press the opposing team's midfield, that will allow the opposing team's midfield to get the ball to their attackers. And by then, well, your backline is exposed, because now the pass is usually going to be to the back of your defenders. So it all starts at the top. You know, they say shit rolls back or downhill. That's pretty much what we have here. We have a problem that starts all the way from the top. where our attack doesn't press their defense, our midfield doesn't press their midfield. So by then, the ball makes it to the back of our defenders, and our defenders are left with their pants around their ankle. So for this to work, the whole team has to press. It can't be just one guy. The whole team has to press, because if I'm the only one pressing and I come at you, you have the ball, all you have to do is give it to the guy next to you, right? But instead, if we all press, I press you, and my teammate presses the other guy, and my teammate presses the other guy. Now, not only I'm pressing you, so now you have to do something because I'm pressing you, but now you don't have anyone to pass it to, because all your teammates are being pressed by my teammates. So now I'm either going to take the ball from you, or I'm going to force you to make a mistake, and I'm going to get the ball away from you. So that's the only way the press works. If everybody presses and everybody does it together, not I go press and then my teammate reacts 3 seconds later, and by then it's too late because you already got the pass out. So Dorian says the stadium will be the greatest stadium of all time. Home field advantage will definitely feel real. It won't even be fair for the opposing team having to deal with the atmosphere of the Camp Nou. I hope so, my friend. I hope so. Best in the game says, I agree with the fact that we need a squad depth, especially for rotating, to keep the intensity at 100%. And since we play more games than usual, I mean, we definitely need squad depth, especially with how, there's 1 million games and 5 million FIFA international breaks. We're talking about a third one. I mean, are these people crazy? King City says, I would rather Osimhen, but it's who we can get. The problem with Osimhen, aside from most likely not being able to afford him, because they're saying 90 mil or more, I don't know if we want that kind of energy in the locker room. Like we saw what happened in Osimhen and Napoli, and I don't know if we need that. Mike says, critical thinking is dead nowadays. It really is. It really is. And AI, they're saying, there's actually studies on this, how AI is actually making it worse, because now people don't have to think. They don't have to research. They don't have to do anything. You just type in a prompt and boom, there's your answer. So Kino says, I'd love to see Rashford and Etta as our 9s next season. Rashford, honestly, at this point, no. At this point, I would love to see him back in Man U. Now, if he improves and things change, sure. But at this point, as of today, no. I would like to see him on a plane back to Manchester. And Goji says, Mo, before you end the stream, starting 11 prediction for Celta Vigo game, please. I think it's going to be very similar to Elche's and the Champions League. For maybe the only difference is we might see Kouarsi back. But and maybe Lewy in the place of Ferran. But that's it. But it's probably going to be the same. Szczesny on goal. Koundé and Balde on the fullbacks. Probably Araujo and Kouarsi, since Eric has a broken nose. Casado and Frankie in a double pivot with Fermin as our attacking mid. By the way, Fermin, 4 goals and 4 assists in 4 matches. Absolutely amazing. Nobody's talking about it. Very underrated guy. And then, of course, Lamine, Rashford, and Ferran is our 9, or maybe Lewy. So, McBarca says, Benz fans. Barca fans are the most try-hard, wannabe, humble people. Lose 2 matches, you will see the worst of them. They should support Real Madrid with that mentality. You ain't wrong, my friend. You ain't wrong. And John D says, Mo is just fatigue, injuries, and lack of depth. I do think the team has been much, much worse at pressing lately as well. They have. And then last one about Barca. Barca says, Sir Alex Ferguson should give a 2-day lecture. The stuff the top teams, their squad, that would put them straight. Maybe. Actually, if I was him, I would totally do that. I would charge like a consulting fee, just go around talking to teams. Not a bad gig. Because, when you do that, they also have to pay for your flight, hotel. So you just travel around, talk to people, and make a crap load of money. Or maybe he already does that, and we don't know. I don't know. But not a bad idea. But anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Bis Barça.